Welcome to the Cup of Joe Wrestling Show.
Cup of Joe Wrestling Show?
With Joey Harris. A podcast for the wrestling fan on the go. So take your favorite beverage of choice and join Joey as he takes a look at some of the biggest shows on the WWE Network.
Welcome to the Cup of Joe Wrestling Show. I'm your host, Joey Harris, and we are broadcasting from makeshift studios in the shadow of South Central Virginia. Follow the show's Twitter at Cup of Joe Pod, email the show at cupofjoewrestlingshow@gmail.com, support the show at paypal.me/cupofjoepod. I am also on Cash App and Venmo at The Joey Harris. Folks, today we are back and taking a look at SummerSlam 94 from the WWF. SummerSlam 94 was shown on pay-per-view on August the 29th, 1994 from the United Center in Chicago, Illinois. There were 23,300 in attendance and the show did 300,000 pay-per-view buys. Adam Bomb defeated Quang in a dark match. We start out with our intro. Randy Savage comes out to welcome us to SummerSlam. He throws it to Vince McMahon and Jerry Lawler, who will be the announcers for the event. Last major show WWF appearance for Savage. Lawler reveals that Shawn Michaels and Diesel defeated the Head Shrinkers the previous night to become the new WWF Tag Team Champions. This is long-term storytelling. They then run down what we're going to see. IRS and Bam Bam Bigelow with Ted DiBiase versus the Head Shrinkers, Samu and Fatu with Alpha and Captain Lou Albano. Bigelow and Fatu start. They trade moves. Fatu knocks Bigelow down. He gets a 2 count. Bigelow with an enziguri. He misses a top rope headbutt. Samu tagged in. Double thrust kick to Bigelow. He gets a 2 count. Bigelow with an elbow. IRS tagged in. Samu slams him several times and hits a thrust kick. He gets a 2 count. Samu ducks a clothesline attempt, and IRS falls to the outside. Double team to IRS. Fatu tagged in. Bigelow pulls the rope, and Fatu falls out of the ring. Bigelow attacks Fatu on the outside. Double clothesline and both men down. Samu and IRS both tagged in. Samu is dominating the heels. Samu drops a headbutt. Bigelow thrown out. Double headbutt to IRS. Splash to IRS. Heels distract the referee so Bigelow can attack. Alpha comes in and the bell rings. They clear the ring. They fight down the aisle. Officials out to try to break them up. The heels win by disqualification. Leslie Nielsen searches for the Undertaker, but finds George Kennedy. WWF Women's Championship match, Alundra Blaze versus Bull Nakano with Luna Vachon. Blaze looks all business as she comes out. They are both presented with flowers before the match. Vachon throws Nakano's at Blaze. The bell rings. Nakano with a clothesline. Blaze with a drop kick. Nakano slams Blaze down by the hair a couple of times. They trade shots. Nakano with a leg drop. Nakano with a sleeper. Blaze fighting to get out of the hold. She gets out. Nakano chokes Blaze on the ropes. Blaze with a Hurricane Rana for a 2 count. Nakano chokeslams Blaze down. Nakano with the Boston Crab. Blaze gets to the ropes. Nakano with a modified standing STF. Referee Tim White makes her break when she pulls Blaze's hair. Nakano distracts White, allowing Vachon to attack Blaze. Blaze with a roll-up for a 2 count. Nakano with the wrist lock. Blaze comes back with a series of slams for a 2 count. Nakano reverses a piledriver into a backdrop for a 2 count. Blaze with a backslide for a 2 count. Back and forth. Nakano with a slam. She misses a top rope leg drop when Blaze moves. Blaze knocks Vachon off the apron and hits a German suplex to get the pin. Todd Pettengill interviews Diesel and Shawn Michaels about becoming the tag team champions the previous night and about Diesel's match with Razor Ramon. WWF Intercontinental Championship match. Diesel with Shawn Michaels versus Razor Ramon with Walter Payton in his corner. Diesel and Michaels out first. Ramon and Payton get a tremendous ovation when they come out. Referee Earl Hebner does the belt presentation. All four in the ring facing each other. Michaels and Payton get out of the ring. Ramon throws his toothpick at Diesel and attacks him with punches. Diesel bumping like crazy for Ramon. Diesel rolls out to regroup with Michaels. Diesel gets back in and attacks Ramon. They trade moves. Ramon with a corner whip. Diesel with a back elbow. Diesel slams Ramon face first into the mat. Diesel with a sleeper. Ramon with a belly-to-back suplex to get out. Diesel throws Ramon out. Diesel distracts referee Earl Hebner so Michaels can untie a turnbuckle pad. Payton goes after Michaels. Hebner stops him, allowing Michaels to hit Ramon with a flying clothesline from the ring steps. Ramon gets in on the 9 count. Diesel with elbows to Ramon in the corner. He goes to corner whip Ramon into the buckle, but Hebner blocks the way. Michaels up on the apron to distract Hebner, allowing Diesel to do the corner whip. He gets a 2 count. Diesel guillotines Ramon in the corner. He then chokes Ramon on the second rope for a 4 count. He hits a leapfrog body guillotine on Ramon. He clotheslines Ramon down. He gets a 2 count. Diesel with a chin lock. Ramon comes back. Diesel hits a big boot. Ramon gets his foot up on the rope. Diesel with an abdominal stretch. He uses the ropes for leverage. He gets caught and has to break. Ramon gets a reversal, but Diesel hip tosses out of it. Diesel ran into the exposed buckle and rolled up for a 2 count. Ramon with a knee lift. Back and forth. Diesel crotched in the corner. Ramon with a bulldog off the turnbuckle for a 2 count. A scoop slam gets another 2 count. Ramon puts Diesel on the top rope, but Diesel hits a back elbow. Ramon backdrops out of a jackknife attempt. Diesel with a flying shoulder tackle. Michaels gets up on the apron to hit Ramon with the IC title. Peyton grabs the other end, and they get into a tug of war. Hebner gets Peyton away, allowing Michaels to get in the ring and go for the super kick as Diesel holds Ramon. Ramon moves, and Diesel gets hit instead. Peyton grabs Michaels, and Ramon gets the pin to become the new Intercontinental Champion. Michaels and Diesel argue as they leave. Ramon, Peyton, and Peyton's son Jarrett celebrate in the ring. Randy Savage is out in the crowd and recaps what we just saw. Todd Pettengill is with Tatanka and Lex Luger. They talk about whether Luger sold out to Ted DiBiase and recap what has happened between them so far. Tatanka lays it on a little too thick for me. Luger says he knows what the truth is. Tatanka versus Lex Luger. Tatanka out first to a mixed reaction. Luger out to a better reception, but there are still boos. Tatanka yelling at Luger that he sold out. The bell rings. Tatanka continuing the sold out bit. They lock up and drive to a corner. They break. Luger with a side headlock. He pushes off and hits Tatanka with a shoulder block. They circle each other again. They trade wrist locks. Tatanka with an armbar. Vince McMahon either forgets or chooses to ignore the fact that they faced each other at King of the Ring 93 when he says they haven't faced each other. Tatanka with a press for a 2 count. They trade shots. Luger with a hip toss. Luger with a suplex for a 2 count. Tatanka comes back with an elbow. He gets a power slam for a 2 count. He chops Luger down and gets another 2 count. Tatanka with a suplex. He gets yet another 2 count. Tatanka goes up top, but misses when Luger moves. Luger with a pair of clotheslines. DiBiase comes to ringside with a duffel bag. Luger hits a power slam. Luger asks DiBiase what he's doing here as DiBiase pulls out money. Tatanka comes and rolls Luger up to get the pin. Tatanka and Luger argue after the match. DiBiase gets in the ring and Luger attacks him and kicks the money away. Tatanka attacks Luger from behind. He hits Luger with a fallaway slam. He hits another one as officials try to stop him. DiBiase and Tatanka embrace as the crowd boos them. Tatanka chops Luger. DiBiase and Tatanka leave, talking about how they fooled everyone. DiBiase tells Tatanka to attack Luger again, and he does. He puts Luger in the $1 million dream. He stuffs money in Luger's throat. Gorilla Monsoon is in the hotline room talking about what just happened. Jeff Jarrett versus Mabel with Oscar. Oscar wraps Mabel to the ring. The crowd is into them. The bell rings. Mabel pushes Jarrett off. Mabel goes to splash Jarrett in the corner, but Jarrett moves and does the strut. Jarrett with a wrist lock. Mabel pushes off. Jarrett gets caught and slammed down. Mabel drops an elbow. Jarrett clotheslined outside. Jarrett pushes Oscar down. He stomps Mabel down and hits a fist drop. Jarrett tries to knock Mabel down. Mabel catches Jarrett in a bear hug. Jarrett out and gets a sleeper on Mabel. Mabel out, but Jarrett gets the sleeper back on. Mabel out again and hits a spinning heel kick for a 2 count. Abe Knuckleball Schwartz is shown in the crowd with an I'm on strike sign. That's some topical humor right there. Jarrett slammed down for a 2 count. Jarrett rakes Mabel's eyes. He goes out and grabs Oscar. Mabel grabs Jarrett from behind for Oscar to hit. Oscar slaps Jarrett. Back in, Mabel misses a splash when Jarrett moves. Jarrett gets a 2 count. Jarrett goes for a sunset flip. Mabel misses a sit-down splash and Jarrett gets the pin. Mabel takes off after Jarrett. Leslie Nielsen and George Kennedy shown still looking for the Undertaker. Flashback to everything that has happened between Bret and Owen Hart. The cage is set up. Vince McMahon and Jerry Lawler go over and talk to the Hart family, who are seated at ringside. Helen says she never imagined this would happen. I'm assuming she meant the 4th straight SummerSlam where the extended Hart family has been shown on camera. Lawler says the Hart family drove Owen to this and then interviewed the returning British Bulldog, who says he knows what kind of condition Bret Hart's in. They then notice Jim Neidhart sitting behind the family, and he says that Owen will be the next WWF champion. He says Owen is the best Hart. Bruce is also there and said Neidhart is the one who split up the family. Todd Pettengill interviews Bret Hart. Pettengill says Bret is recovering from strep throat, but Bret says it will have no effect on anything. He will leave the cage the champion. He says he doesn't hate Owen. Jealousy is an ugly thing. Bret says he hates Jim Neidhart for planting the seeds of jealousy. He says this has to stop, and he is going to end it. Steel cage match for the WWF Championship. Bret Hart versus Owen Hart. Howard Finkel explains the rules of the cage. The winner will be whomever escapes the cage and hits the floor. Owen out first. He is such a good heel. He climbs over the top into the cage. Bret comes out to a huge ovation. He hugs his family and does his sunglasses presentation. He gets in and Owen attacks right away. He runs Bret into a corner and does corner-mounted punches. He stomps Bret down. He hits a barrage of offense. Bret comes back with an inverted atomic drop. Bret with a clothesline. Owen choking Bret with his own strap. Back and forth. Bret with a DDT. They trade shots as their parents look on. Bret with a leg drop. He starts to climb, but Owen pulls him back down. Owen with an enziguri. Owen starts to climb, but Bret grabs his leg and suplexes Owen back to the mat. Bret goes for the door, but Owen grabs his leg. Owen with a corner whip. Bret with a bulldog. Bret goes for the door, but is stopped by Owen, who then goes for the door until Bret grabs his leg. They keep diving for the door and stopped by the other. Bret grabs Owen by the hair. He drops an elbow on Owen. Bret starts to climb, but Owen grabs an ankle and pulls Bret out. Owen climbs up and over, but Bret grabs Owen and pulls him back in. They trade shots on the top turnbuckle. Bret pushed to the mat. Owen hits a top rope drop kick and kips up and dives up and over the cage. Bret leaps up to grab him. He pulls Owen back in and climbs over him to try to get out. Owen grabs Bret. They trade punches and kicks on the ropes. Bret slams Owen on the cage and both fall. Bret starts to climb again. Owen grabs for him and they struggle on the mat. Bret backdrops out of a piledriver attempt. Double collision and both men are down. Owen starts to go out the door, but Bret drags him back in. Bret starts to climb, but Owen grabs him. Bret tries to kick Owen off. Owen yanks Bret down and Bret crouches himself on the top rope. Neidhart is excited. Owen goes for the door. Bret grabs an ankle. He pulls Owen back in and gets Owen down. He misses a second rope elbow drop. Owen starts to climb. He gets over the side and Bret grabs his hair to keep him from falling. Bret drags Owen in and slams him down. Bret starts to climb but gets slammed off by Owen. Owen climbs and Bret lunges to catch him. He rams Owen into the cage and both men down. Bret climbs up but gets suplexed to the mat. Owen with a pile driver to Bret that would seriously injure Steve Austin in 3 years' time. Both men down again. Owen starts to climb. Bret grabs Owen's leg. They trade punches and both fall to the mat. Bret goes for the door. Owen grabs his leg. Bret is halfway out the door. Owen pulls him back. They then reverse. Bret slingshot into the cage. Bret crawls to the wrong corner at first. He then gets the right corner and Owen lunges to grab Bret. Owen with a corner whip. Owen grabs Bret, who drops down and Owen ran into the cage. Bret's knee also hit the cage. Bret starts to climb. He gets over, but Owen grabs his hair and pulls Bret back in. Both men down again. Owen starts to climb, and Bret grabs his hair. They battle on the cage. Bret kicks Owen off. Owen grabs Bret and drags him down. Back and forth. Owen starts to climb. Bret grabs Owen and suplexes him from the top of the cage, both on the mat. Owen grabs Bret's foot when he goes towards the door and pulls Bret in the sharpshooter. Bret reverses the hold. Bret lets go and climbs. A lunge by Owen catches Bret and both are down again. Owen climbs. Bret also climbs and both on the outside of the cage hanging and hitting each other. Owen gets hung up in the cage. Bret falls to the floor to win. Neidhart gets out of his seat and clotheslines the British Bulldog and Diana over the barricade. He then attacks Bret. Owen and Neidhart throw Bret in the cage, get in, and Neidhart locks the cage door. Go to 2 hours, 14 minutes, and 7 seconds on Peacock and pause to see the look of glee. They beat Bret while the other family members try to get in the cage. Bulldog finally gets in, so Owen and Neidhart climb out and leave. They get a pair of bolt cutters and get the door open. Todd Pettengill tries to interview Owen and Neidhart. Owen is pissed and says his family turned on him. We get a Survivor Series ad. Flashback to what led up to the main event. The Undertaker with Paul Bearer versus The Undertaker with Ted DiBiase. Fake Undertaker is Brian Lee. DiBiase out first, and they say he is 2 for 2 on the evening. He introduces his Undertaker. I think I will just call him Brian Lee for convenience. He does have most of the mannerisms down. I will give him that. Paul Bearer comes out and then waves to the Druids, who roll down the casket from the Royal Rumble. Bearer brings a huge urn and opens it. A light comes out of it. The Undertaker comes down the aisle. Debut of the Undertaker with the purple look. Both Undertakers take off their gear. The bell rings. They are face to face. Undertaker on offense. They trade blows. Undertaker knocks Lee to the outside. He goes after Bearer. Undertaker suplexes Lee in from the apron. He then throws him to the outside again. Lee up on the apron and guillotines Undertaker on the top rope. Lee goes for old school, but Undertaker slams him off. Lee sits up. Undertaker does old school. Lee with a suplex and hits a sloppy stun gun to Undertaker. They trade clotheslines. Lee misses an elbow. Undertaker with a flurry of offense on Lee. He misses a clothesline and falls to the outside. They fight out to the casket. Lee beats Undertaker down in the corner. Lee with a clothesline. He does a chokeslam and a tombstone. Undertaker reverses a second tombstone attempt. Undertaker with 3 tombstones to get the pin. Thanks for coming, Brian Lee. DiBiase takes off down the aisle. Lee rolled away in the casket as Undertaker and Bearer did their thing in the ring. Randy Savage wishes us a good night and throws it to Leslie Nielsen and George Kennedy. So long, Randy. Nielsen and Kennedy open the casket and it's empty. They then find a case and it's closed. That didn't land at all. Final thoughts. The cage match went way too long. Savage ends his time in the WWF shortly after this, and we are headed into an interesting fall. You can follow me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at @TheJoeyHarris. If you like the show, please leave a review on iTunes, Apple Podcast, or your preferred podcast app. I would really appreciate it. We can also be found on Spotify and YouTube. Just search for The Cup of Joe Wrestling Show and don't forget to hit subscribe. Thank you for joining me. This is Joey saying so long from the heart of Virginia.
The Cup of Joe Wrestling Show is a production of Baby Kangaroo Media.